Hello and welcome back to another Reactions, though I might actually start calling this the post-game show, as, it's kind of, if I say reactions, that feels like I'm watching it alongside of it, whereas if it's a post-game, I feel like it's more of like, hey, it's like the actual post-game show, like the main show is the Inside Xbox, where like the post-game show is this right here. So I might be calling this in the future the post game of the first look inside Xbox Series X gameplay. Kind of a mouthful there, and I'm sure you've probably heard a lot on the internet that using the word gameplay in quotation marks. Because that's kind of how it was marketed, and I feel like it's also kind of marketed of a tease of what's to come, and I feel like that was a good thing. I didn't expect I guess I'll say, kind of to begin with, I expected less out of this. I expected far less games shown. I expected maybe like five. We had some kind of like more indie developers, publishers out there. Really, the big ones we got first party wise is we got Sega, we got Bandai Namco, and we got an Ubisoft game. We didn't see anything from any of the others like EA, Activision, those kinds of things. So I was actually pleasantly surprised of what they actually showed. Not really any of them they marketed as an exclusive, because they did mention that first party games will be shown off in July, and most of the games here are going to be, or pretty much all of the games here are going to be third party. I will mention, so later after like press releases and stuff came out for games, some games were confirmed for PS5, some others weren't. Like the website I was looking at was Push Square. They've kind of reached out to other developers to say, hey, is your game coming to PS5? As of recording this 5:40 Central Time, they haven't had any posts saying, yeah, these other games are confirmed. But I'm sure some of these games are either going to be timed exclusives or more that we're actually going to see on PS5 as well, I'm sure at some point. So they do also mention every game is optimized for Xbox Series X. That was what one thing they showed like right before the beginning. And other than that, I'm just going to get into, I think it's maybe about 12, 13 games total they showed off. First one being Bright Memory Infinite. So this is a game that started, it's from Playism and FYQD Studio Produce. That's just kind of what the thing they showed there. I believe it's a Chinese studio, and one they mentioned that it was made by one guy. I guess this is game Bright Memory had already been on Steam at some point. But it's an FPS with wall running, sliding, lots of weather. For a sec, I thought this was maybe like a Titanfall spin-off, because like the weapon looked kind of like Titanfall. They had the wall running, had the sliding, had like a grappling hook, just like Titanfall has. So you see this guy like shooting around, weather everywhere. It's like a storm. He's taking down enemies, but then he like comes across like a Spartan or like a samurai kind of person and starts like sword combating them, and eventually like launches them up into like a combo. I'm like, man, this is like some first person like Devil May Cry thing going on. So then eventually like I guess the protagonist like escapes, and it sure looks to what seems to be like a DeLorean shows up. I don't 100% know if that's what it was supposed to be, but it sure looked like the Back to the Future DeLorean, which was kind of interesting. I think that's what basically I've listened to like Game Informer and part of like MinMax's recaps on this, and they basically kind of say the same thing, that they're like, hey, this looks like a DeLorean straight from Back to the Future. Doc Brown's going to show up, all that kind of stuff. One note they had right at the very beginning was that this is something about like in-game footage representative of what like final gameplay is going to look like on Xbox Series X. And I feel like that's going to be a consistent theme throughout this show. Again, I did mention it was built from the ground up for one person. And a couple of these, I'm actually going to take part of the description from the Xbox Wire website, because I feel like it's actually just kind of easier to say it that way than to like, it has more details than what I have and can extrapolate sometimes. So part of what that says is the game is set in 2036, and a strange phenomenon that scientists can't explain is happening. And I don't know if it's like creating rifts into time portals, as in like why the Spartan guy shows up, or why there's a different kind of cars. I have no idea. But they had a little talk about the game after that. Next up, we got a new Dirt game, which I guess total, this is number 5. So Dirt 5, I guess if you're counting Dirt 1, 2, and then the rallies. I don't know too much about it, but this is officially like Dirt 5. It's made by Codemaster, still the same developer. They mentioned that it ushers in a new generation of Dirt. So it's kind of weird that they showed off this game to be their first racing game and not something like Forza. I think maybe like Forza 8, maybe at this point. Probably going to be a launch title for next gen. But really watching that trailer, like, it wasn't really amazing, I guess. And I feel like that's really tough nowadays. Like, with games already looking so good, I feel like I've seen that kind of trailer like over and over again. The biggest things I can pick out from it was that the weather and the detail is what they seem to focus on. And just a couple notes I put was like lightning in the backgrounds and like confetti like on the racetrack when people are like driving by. That's really the only thing I could seem like I could focus on that was like, hey, this is like actually different. They had a little post-game interview, you could say, about the career mode. So the career mode's going to have real-world sponsors, and I guess Troy Baker and Nolan North are going to be doing voices for that. So that's kind of like a big get for them. And this is one game that is confirmed to be on PlayStation 5. So they have officially put out a trailer. I think it's even on like the PlayStation YouTube channel. So this is a PS5 confirmed game. Next up, we have a game from Ebb Software called Scorn. And this is a game following Easy Allies that I've actually heard about before. I think they were a sponsor of the podcast at some point for quite a while. And I think I watched like a gameplay video of it. And it's like a first-person shooter. Kind of resembles like that first-person game Agony that came out, even though like you actually have like combat, I think, now. And it's not as... It's still grotesque, but maybe not as grotesque as that game was. I never played it, but apparently it's pretty terrible. But it's a first-person horror adventure. They say in the blog post that each location has its own theme, puzzles, and characters. I feel like there's a couple videos out there on Scorn, maybe not necessarily recent footage, but really, I thought the game actually looked really good from those videos that I've seen. I want to say maybe this is the least interesting trailer I've seen. It says in-engine footage, which again we're going to see a lot, but it doesn't really tell me anything what the game was about, which was pretty disappointing. Sometimes I can't really tell if the thing is like CG or if it is actually in-game footage, and I feel like this is one of those games where I can't really tell. And I really don't think that this trailer showed really anything to get excited about. If anything, it's like, oh, I guess I'll look up more about it and then maybe decide. But right now, there was nothing really in that trailer that's like, wow, like I gotta play this, or man, I gotta check this out. It was just kind of fell flat for me. Next up, we have a game called Chorus, which they spelled it CHORV or ORVS. So kind of like if you want to think of like Churches, the band, like with the V instead of a U. But it is called Chorus, according to, I guess, like the blog post. This is from Fish Labs and Deep Silver. So this game is confirmed with Smart Delivery, which means it will also be on Xbox One. Their Smart Delivery program, basically, if you buy the Xbox One or Xbox Series X version of the game, you will get the other version for absolutely free, which is cool. Hopefully those have like separate achievement lists, because that would be like super cool. I love doing that stuff, like on PS3 to PS4 when they have separate trophy lists. Get them twice. Side tangent. But so I can't really describe too much about what Chorus was in general. It's kind of like I would assume more, I don't want to call it Star Fox or whatnot, but like you have a ship, you're flying around, you might have some on foot kind of gameplay. They don't really show too much, they just show some aerial combat. But the blog post on Xbox Wire says, discover Chorus, an immersive single-player experience that tells a mature and dark tale of redemption. Take control of Nara, an ace pilot with a haunted past, and Forsaken, her sentient starfighter. Oh, the name of her starfighter is Forsaken. Okay. Her sentient starfighter as they embark on a personal redemptive journey to challenge a relentless foe and take down the dark cult that made her. This is a true evolution of the space combat shooter. So you can find out more on chorusthegame.com. This is the first game we've actually got a date on, which is 2021, and this game was later also confirmed for PlayStation 5. Next up, we have Super Bowl champion MVP Patrick Mahomes shows up. He's like, hey, I'm Patrick Mahomes, and starts showing recaps of old Madden games, which this just feels like filler. This is like the bad part of an EA press conference at this point, where you actually get up and go to the bathroom, but it's like way too early for that, so you gotta just sit there and watch it, I guess. So this was a little confusing. They show like maybe like 7 seconds of actual gameplay, maybe for the new Madden. But so if you get the Series X version, you get the Xbox One version, but it's not smart delivery. It's an EA next level thing. So next level is like some initiative that EA has, and I copied the wording off of EA's website, and it talks about to receive the offer of getting the Xbox One and Xbox Series X versions for basically like one price. Players must purchase Madden NFL 21 on Xbox One by December 31st, 2020, and upgrade to Xbox Series X by March 31st, 2021. So basically you have a limited time frame to upgrade. So it's not, I guess, permanent or Xbox Smart Delivery. So you only have a certain amount of time, which seems like an EA thing to do. Next up, we had a weird looking trailer of a guy dancing around like a Christmas tree. He sure looked like Jesse Eisenberg, looking like Lex Luthor in like Batman vs. Superman, with like doll strings and puppets going around. But eventually we find out that this is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which once they started showing some of the vampire stuff, I was like, is this Bloodlines 2? Like, because like we've seen a little bit of it and we've heard about it coming. This is from Paradox, Hardsuit Labs, and World of Darkness. This game is also confirmed to be smart delivery. And this is the description from the Xbox Wire. What monster will you be? Enter the world of darkness and rise through vampire society. Experience Seattle, a city full of alluring, dangerous characters and factions. In the sequel to the cult classics, your choices, plots, and schemes will change the balance of power. So I don't think this game looked all that visually impressive, but I think kind of like on gameplay wise, I really like kind of those first person experiences where, like the BioShock, Mirror's Edge, that kind of stuff, single player, not multiplayer like things. So I actually was pretty interested in this. Will I ever play the original? Probably not. I know it's kind of a cult classic, but it's also kind of janky at the same time. But yeah, I was actually pretty impressed by this game. This game's also in my top 3 that I'll talk about at the very end of the show or this podcast. But I liked it. I think it looks pretty cool. This game would be like if it was a launch title for Xbox Series X or even PlayStation 5, I would probably consider picking it up. So that's definitely in the top 3 for me. Next up, we have Call of the Sea, which a lot of people talked about how they really enjoyed, but I didn't really care for it all that much. This is from Raw Fury as the publisher, and I guess Out of the Blue is the studio. This is also a smart delivery and Xbox Game Pass game. I'm assuming that will be on Xbox Game Pass at launch. Maybe not Xbox Series X at launch, but will be on Xbox Game Pass at launch when the game finally comes out. They showed like a quick little like snippet of like an old like letter at the very beginning of the trailer. I was like, oh man, is this like a BioShock or something like that? And then of course like 3 seconds later, it's like clearly not. It looks like you're kind of like in a like an island and you're just kind of exploring it. Like gave me kind of like Rime vibes and whatnot. It didn't do much for me, but again, this is another one I'll read the description from Xbox Wire. Call of the Sea is a first-person adventure puzzle game set in the 1930s that tells the story of Nora, a woman on the trail of her missing husband's expedition. The search takes place on a strange but beautiful island in the South Pacific, filled with secrets waiting to be unearthed. It is an otherworldly tale of mystery, adventure, and self-discovery. So I watching this trailer again, I've got it kind of side by side of while I'm recording. It does look a little bit more interesting than I guess the first time I watched it. They kind of show a little tease at the very end where the character I guess has like fins and they're like able to swim. I don't know if that's like a dream sequence. Maybe they turn into like a mermaid or something. I have no idea. I'm down for anything in these games. But moving on, we have a game called The Ascent. This is from Neon Giant and Curve Digital, and we immediately see a beautiful looking cyberpunk world. And when I first saw this, I thought, hey, this is Curve Digital. I don't expect this to be like first person, huge RPG, cyberpunk 2077 levels of detail, I guess. So it is a smart delivery game. I think it is also going to be on Xbox Game Pass. I didn't go back and look with that one. If I see it pop up here in the trailer, I'll let you know. But I feel like it had a great atmospheric trailer. Figured it would be, again, smaller just due to Curve publishing the game. So it's a top-down isometric solo and co-op action RPG in a cyberpunk world. And I can't really tell the RPG instances like at first looking at it. To me it looks more of like a twin stick shooter, like it looks more of like an Alienation Dead Nation kind of thing from Housemarque, which is certainly not a bad thing, as I wasn't too big on Dead Nation, but I really liked Alienation, even though I know thoughts on those games are usually switched, where people love Dead Nation and not so much Alienation. But so another part from the description is that the Ascent group has collapsed. Chaos is everywhere and people are left to fend for themselves. Stop gangs and corporations from taking over to discover what happened. And again, I just kind of watched it. I don't believe that is Xbox Game Pass. Again, it might be. I can't really remember. It might be there in the future, but wasn't too crazy about the Ascent. It just kind of looks like another one of those games to me. It just depends on like what a launch lineup will be. Like, you know, if that game isn't launch and there's not a ton to play at launch on a new console, I'd probably consider picking it up. But with it coming out with the breadth of all of the other games that are coming out, it's probably going to be a pass for me. Next up, another game in my top 3, The Medium by Bloober Team. And I do believe this is an Xbox Game Pass game coming holiday 2020. This is pretty surprising to me, for sure. I'm surprised to see this game, as they already have announced that there's like an Observer next generation port coming to at least PS5 and maybe Xbox Series X. This is Bloober Team, who did Observer. They did Layers of Fear 1 and 2, and then they also recently, just last year, did the Blair Witch game. So they've definitely got a lot of projects that have going on, probably multiple teams at this point. A big part of this is you play as, the soundtrack is by Akira Yamaoka from Silent Hill, which is huge news. And I feel like even just watching the trailer, you can just hear that music already. A description from Xbox Wire: you play as Mary Ann, a medium living in two worlds, the real and the spirit one. Haunted by a vision of child's murder, you travel to an abandoned hotel resort, and that sounds somewhat familiar from Silent Hill 2, which many years ago became the stage for an unthinkable tragedy. There you begin your search for difficult answers. So pretty excited about this. This is a game that we actually do have a date, not a specific date, but a window, coming holiday 2020. So to me, that means if it's not a launch game, it's probably within the weeks after that. But yeah, I'm excited for The Medium. I think that's right now, it's probably like my number 2 game I'm most excited about, which might even be number 1. I think I actually had my number 1 as actually the first game, Bright Memory Infinite, but I might actually switch that by the time is all said and done. But yeah, pretty excited for The Medium. I haven't played a Bloober Team game, meaning like I think I have Observer and Layers of Fear, but I haven't played them. I know I need to play them, but I'm always kind of in tune for those kind of first-person adventure / horror game things. So again, yeah, looking forward to that. Next up, we kind of have our dose of maybe anime, if we want to say. This is a Bandai Namco game, smart delivery. It's a game called Scarlett Nexus. It's a third-person action game, weird art style, but I said also kind of creepy. You have these like mannequin-looking monsters straight out of a Silent Hill, but they have like flowers as the body and the head. It's like a bouquet of flowers. Um, yeah, it has like, and I've kind of heard like from like Game Explain and maybe another podcast that yeah, like it really does have this astral chain vibe going on. Again, that was the Platinum Nintendo game that came out last year. Again, this is one that I just feel like I gotta just read the description because I don't really know any other better way to do this. Take on the role of Yuto Sumeragi, a new recruit to the OSF, aiming to become an elite psionic like the one who saved him as a child. Armed with a talent in psychokinesis, explore the futuristic city of New Himuka and uncover the mysteries of a brain punk future. First time I've heard that. It did kind of look a little cyberpunk, but I guess we'll go with brain punk future caught between technology and psychic abilities in Scarlett Nexus. So again, just weird monsters. I guess not cyberpunk, but brain punk, which really is just this whole Inside Xbox just has a lot of creepy, weird looking things. Talking about like the Medium and then Scarlet Nexus's monsters and Scorn. It just has some weird stuff so far. But I don't have too much else to say about this one either. This is probably the only game we got maybe closest to what actual gameplay is going to be. Like we actually have not a UI, but what actually seems to be like the camera and how the game is going to be played. Like it looks like a third-person action game, which I feel like I might have to just kind of throw this in the realm of, hey, if it's at launch, there's not a ton of other games at launch, I'll probably pick this one up. But kind of where it stands right now, I don't really have any burning desire to explore the brain punk future, let's say. Next up is a game that a lot of people seem to be excited about, but I wasn't really. This is from Systematic Reaction, which they also had below that. It was an Avalanche studio. It's a smart delivery game called Second Extinction. So this is an FPS, third-person cooperative shooter. You're shooting mutated dinosaurs. Can't forget about the mutated part. So something you'd find out of like Jurassic World or Park or whatever those things are. Use weapons, skills, abilities to reclaim Earth. Apparently these dinosaurs have taken over everything. I did mark that like it was one of the cooler games shown. Like I think the environments looked beautiful, but I felt like the game just looked empty. Like there wasn't really much to look at, I guess. Like, you know, you have like these kind of mountainscapes, or you have like this frozen lake you're on with like different terrain. And I mean, it looks great, but it just seemed empty. Like it just seemed like this huge empty space that I just feel like would be really boring to explore and just be in. I don't know if this is like the same team that did Generation Zero, which I heard terrible things about. Hearing about how the world was just super bland, but you know, if I'm hearing that about that game and hearing this about Second Extinction, it might be the same thing. I don't really know. But I think there is, if you go to their website, I can't remember what it is exactly, but if you just probably Google Second Extinction website, you will get a kind of a note that you can sign up and get like forum access. But if you like refer a friend, you get like beta access for PC when it comes out. So that's kind of cool. I assume that beta will probably be open to everybody at some point, but they did only say that the beta is only available on PC, so there's no Xbox Series X or Series One, or Xbox Series X or Xbox One beta. So I guess you'll just have to do it on PC. The penultimate game now that they showed is a game that Xbox has had recently that they've really kind of hyped up, that was never on Xbox, but now the series seems to be in full Xbox mode. It is Yakuza. Of course, like Yakuza, I think it's 0, 1, Yakuza 0, Kiwami, and Kiwami 2 are out. I don't know if they're all on Game Pass, but I know they're at least on Xbox, or at least coming to Xbox One right now. But Yakuza Like a Dragon, it is essentially Yakuza 7. Yakuza 7 is out in Japan, I believe, at this time. Like a Dragon is the English release. It's from Sega, of course. It's a smart delivery game. And it looks like they're describing it as a launch title for Xbox Series X. It is also going to be on Xbox One and PC. There is no mention of a PS5 version, but they only just list PS4. So that would be a huge get if only the next gen version of Yakuza Like a Dragon is only on Series X. So that would be like a huge get, like a just complete turn for all these collections and all these Yakuza games coming to PlayStation. You know, even just like having Gio Corsi having to get up on stage every year at PSX to be like, hey, guess what? We're localizing more Yakuza games, and now it's just like everywhere. Just 0 and 6, just and the Kwamis just have just such huge popularity. And I think one thing, one of the podcasts I listened to brought up is that they kind of market this as like, at least the gameplay trailer shows like it seems like a normal Yakuza game, but this one is like drastically different. It's more of like an RPG, more of like a turn-based kind of game where it's not, hey, just go down, mash square, beat the crap out of everybody. So kind of have to see how that goes. Pretty excited. They do show, I don't know if this was confirmed, but they do show like Majima in one of the trailers. I don't know if that had been confirmed before. But again, just a huge get for Xbox. It's great they show that on their stage. With it being on this stage, I doubt it will be on the PlayStation 5 stage. So looks like Phil Spencer and the team have done a lot of work to get Yakuza, just that brand and that franchise, onto Xbox. So I think that's really cool, and that's a big get for them. Lastly, we have the final game that seemed like they were hyping up throughout everything, even before the show and then during the show. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it's kind of the game that you kind of forget about. You're like, oh right, that I forgot. Like we were here to see that game. So this is Ubisoft Montreal. I do believe they did Origins, then Black Flag before that. I did see a report that apparently this game will not be as big as the previous Assassin's Creed games due to feedback, which I am actually thankful for, because when I hear about something like Odyssey being so huge, like Witcher 3 style huge, I don't want to play that. Nobody got time to play something that huge. So if you have more of a like condensed experience that is even just improved upon after that, I am pretty excited about that. I think it looks great. Not really full gameplay. It's like in-engine gameplay, but then like it doesn't show like the camera over the character, and it doesn't show any UI. I find myself more interested in this game, however, than in Origins or Odyssey. I think just with the game series turning into more of an RPG, like a Witcher kind of game, I've just kind of been less interested. I actually had played all of the Assassin's Creed games up to, I guess, Unity, and I even played Rogue on PS3, which I was excited for. But yeah, I have not played Syndicate. I want to at least go back and play that. At some point, I probably won't jump back into an Assassin's Creed. Maybe this one, but I would want something like, maybe something set in like Soviet Russia, or something like set during the Civil War. Those are like way far in the future from where like Valhalla is like, what, 900 or 800 something AD. So it would be quite a while before we get back up to that point. But again, I just don't really see too much of Assassin's Creed Valhalla that makes me want to go buy it, but I certainly am more interested in this game than the other ones. And again, just to kind of read the description, I just have listed: in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, become Eivor, that's spelled Eivor, a legendary Viking raider on a quest for glory. Explore a dynamic and beautiful open world set against the brutal backdrop of England's dark ages. Raid your enemies, grow your settlement, and build your political power in the quest to earn a place among the gods in Valhalla. So yeah, expect that this holiday. I don't think they've officially said, hey, it's a launch title, but I would almost wonder if it might be out before the launch consoles. Like if this game comes out in like October for Xbox One and PS4, I could also see it being a launch title. But again, I don't know if there's going to be multiple SKUs of this game. There's so many questions still. But other than that, that's it. So I've got my top 3 games. I think I am going to change it a little bit. I think number 1 is going to be the medium. Really excited about that. Just what Bloober Team's done. I think the Akira Yamaoka stuff is top notch. I think that really is like a selling point for this game. I'm glad they highlighted it, not to just be like, oh yeah, also by the way. So I think that's great news. Number two, I'd probably say Bright Memory Infinite. I know that is the most like generic game trailer you can find, I guess. I don't expect this to be like a full $60 release, but I did enjoy it for what it was. I'm always a sucker for a good shooter, especially something like Titanfall. I really like that Titanfall Doom kind of like really fast paced. I mean, they're fast in their own separate ways, but I really like those kind of fast paced, almost like borderline Twitch kind of shooters. So I'd probably put that at number two. And then number three, I'll probably put Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Again, didn't play the first one, but just kind of, they showed a little snippets of what actually seems to be gameplay, not just, here's a target of what we want gameplay to look like. So I'd get with that. But other than that, I thought this was a pretty good showing. I know a lot of people didn't like what seemed to be like CG in-engine stuff, and I understand that, and being like not real full gameplay, where like you'd see it like at an E3 or something, where like somebody gets up on stage and actually plays it. I think that's certainly disappointing. But I actually thought it was a good showing just from the stance of how many new IPs they showed. We do have stuff like Yakuza, Assassins, and maybe another game or two I can't think of. But what am I trying to? Which one am I looking? Oh yeah, like Vampire the Masquerade. Those aren't new IPs, but all the other games, other than I guess Madden, in addition, and Dirt, they were new IPs. So, and it just seemed like those were the games they really highlighted for sure. And again, people didn't like it, but I actually quite enjoyed this. If I had to give it a letter grade, I'd probably go like a B minus. But again, I feel like it's really tough when the first game you showed for next gen gameplay was Bright Memory Infinite. So it's going to be a long wait till July till we see first party games. I think they really highlighted 343 with Halo. They highlighted Double Fine, Obsidian, and Ninja Theory, which I'm sure with Ninja Theory we're going to see more Hellblade. Wonder what Double Fine's doing, and I don't know if they're going to talk next gen, maybe about Grounded, which is one of the new Obsidian games, which they might, and we might get somebody else as well. In Exile might show up, might get some tease trailer for what the Initiative is doing. Probably not going to get anything from the Coalition, as they maybe have a second team, but maybe something like Playground Games. There's always those teases about Fable or Perfect Dark and whatnot, so but yeah, just thought I'd give a little post-game, or we'll probably go with post-game from now on, about the Inside Xbox Series X gameplay reveal, whatever they called this thing on YouTube. I don't really remember. But again, if you like this, just please let me know what you thought. You can subscribe. I don't really do too much of that stuff. But, if you want to see more, I'm probably going to have more whenever the PlayStation 5 reaction is. Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, or Summer of Games, whatever he called it, is going on. So I'm definitely going to be doing more reactions to some of the other big events they have. But again, let me know what you thought. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.